Hello everyone, this is CrazyCowMM here, and welcome to something interesting that I wanted to start kind of doing for everything is sort of a behind the map thing. I want to sort of go behind all of the maps that I've made and talk about how I did things. So today we're going to be talking about what is missing or what's missing. I wanted to call it what's missing, but there's another map called what's missing. I didn't know, but it's fine. Anyway, yeah, we're going to be going over like how I did the stuff in this. So everything in this map is run off of right-clicking. So if you right-click the button, or you right-click the book, it gives you an info dump about all the stuff, and then if you right-click the... Okay, well, that's a bit of an issue, but if you right-click the button, you start the map. But so what's interesting is you can't actually do right-click detection on normal items. So I can't actually just give you a cookie and say, all right, well, let's just check if they right-click on it. You can sort of do right-click detection using a Minecraft.used. However, it doesn't work for everything. It works for placing down boats, and I think it works for placing down blocks as well, and using a fishing rod. I think using a bow also works. And using a carrot on a stick, even though you can't actually use it. So, it says you can't actually use it, and there's no status update for it. I decided on using the carrot on a stick to detect for right clicks. However, none of these are carrots on a stick, so like, how would that have happened? Well, this is actually a carrot on a stick. Every item in this map, actually let me pull up the resource pack here. Every item in this map is a carrot on a stick that I have just retextured to be the item that I want it to be. What's going to be? It's going to be down here. Here we go. So if we take a look at the resource pack for this, and indeed there is a resource pack, you'll see that we have a folder called fake items. This is not actually the folder that I used most of the time. It was a little bit of a sorting tool for me. But if you go here in item, and then we find carrot on a stick here. You'll see that it's very different from a normal model. I'll say, so this is like what a normal model looks like for things. And this is actually slightly modified. I had to, we'll talk about that later. But basically what I did is I took damage values, and I say, okay, when it's at this damage value, make it this. So basically, when it's damaged to when it's taken one hit, then it'll be a melon slice. When it's taken 2 hits, then it'll be a dispenser. And what's interesting is, in order to get the displays right, this is usually set as item slash something. I can't remember what it is. It's item slash something. But I had to change it to item slash generated so that it actually displayed as as the item correctly. Because you know how here, let me show you really quickly. You know, fishing rods, they sort of display weird. They're kind of like sticking up like that. I had to modify that, and I think that'll make actually the carrot on the stick display kind of weird. Yeah, so see, it's displaying really weird, like backwards and stuff. That's because we had to change the default display type. Anyway. So basically for every durability, I set it to a different model. So, yeah, I didn't bother putting the blocks in the fake items, and actually stopped using the fake items at all because I just got lazy. I was like, ugh. It's very interesting. It was kind of an experience. I've never done that before. So that's why I asked you to disable held item tooltips. In order to get the names to be consistent with the way they are, I think this is yeah. You have to, basically, since it's 1.13 and they allow, well, you have to use JavaScript object notation for your titles, you basically just put italic false in this thing here. And then I also hid flags 63. This just basically gets rid of all the extra MBT data that it might have displayed when you hovered over things. So things like unbreakable 1B would have displayed there. It was said unbreakable. Unbreakable 1B also gets rid of the damage bar. So there wouldn't be a damage bar displaying. If I had given myself a melon carrot on the stick here, as you can see, it's damage 1. If I had not given myself unbreakable, it has a little durability on it, and it says durability as well. So that's just a handy way to disguise all of the tool-y stuff about it. Now the actual map, there's very few, I say that, but it looks like a lot. There's very few real commands in the map. In order to check if the player is holding the right item, I had to do something a little interesting. So you can't actually check if a player has right-clicked on a carrot on a stick with a specific durability. So what I had to do is basically detect if they were holding that that item. So in this case, for level 1, if they are holding the carrot on the stick with the damage of 1, then we're going to add an is right tag to them. And then as soon as they right-click that, I've set up a scoreboard objective that I can actually set display here. Click. And as soon as they right-click that, that score will actually go up to 1. I'm not going to click it right now. I don't want to break things. And once that score goes up to 1, we immediately add 1 to their level. If they're between levels 0 and 19. We then TP them up 9 blocks. So that's perfectly how much this is. Which is why it looked like a seamless teleportation. Why it looks like the room just changed. Clear all their items. We then run this kind of weird looking fill command. It's 1 negative 175, 7 blocks up, negative 190, negative 183, 7 blocks up, 190. And this is actually for all of these item commands back here. So instead of having to run a different command every time they went up a level, I simply said, oh, if they're standing here, then we just fill this row up here with redstone blocks, and so all of these activate. And boom, you get all your items. I thought that was pretty clever. And then finally, we set their click back to 0, so they don't have a weird click score. And if you played the early versions, you'd have known that if you would click the start button here, as soon as you hovered over the correct answer, the melon, on this first puzzle, it would automatically teleport you up. And that was because when clicking the start button, your click score did not actually get set back to 0, and I had to fix that. I think that's also the case with the info thing, which is why when we clicked on the info thing, we then only had to hover over the button. Yeah, we then only had to hover over the button to get teleported. Because basically it's checking, do they have the is right tag? And if their score of click is 1 and they have the is right tag, that says, alright, go. And so if your score of click is already 1, then you get the is right tag for hovering over an item, then you are teleported. So this is really all the level in between commands. We have this single command here, which is handling all of the item rotation. So all the items are nicely rotating here. I will actually go over this now, I think. So items defaultly do not render directly here. I think I changed the majority of items for this, so I can't really show you an example, but they render about like a half block behind the head and sort of up here a little bit. So I'd say like probably they render about here, and then they do kind of a weird rotation thing. So what I had to do, as you saw in this carrot thing, is I added this little display tag here to the item models for all of these. And so essentially, when it's on a head, we're just setting it to 0. And I had to slightly modify this because I was using Blockbench to make the translation correctly. And it wouldn't let you input like null values, so I had to do a slight translation here on the z-axis. But it's not noticeable, so it is fine. Let's go back out here. As I was saying, this is the level in between command. This is the final level command here. And I had to do something a little special for this so that I could add extra commands that happened. So when you hover over the final correct item, instead of giving you the is right tag, it gives you the is right last tag. And then when you have the is right last tag, and your score of click goes up to 1, basically set your game mode to spectator, TP you up 9, clear you, give you the nice title, give you the subtitle that says your name, and then say the reason. I'll show you how all the other previous reasons were handled. This is the start button, I believe. Yes, this is the start button. So if you hovered over the start button, it would give you the start H tag. If you clicked on it, you'd get a score of click 1. It would set your level to 1. I just broke that command block. Whoops. It's fine. Then TPU to the left 14 blocks. Clear ya. Fill that first row so you get all the items. That would then start the rotations. And finally set your click to 0. Okay, so now for the rest of all of this mess. So as you notice, most of these, except for this one, have extra commands hanging off the end of this. This is just to fill it with air, by the way. Fill this entire thing with air, so it's reusable. These commands are actually just the reasons. Yeah. Except for the... these are just the reasons. Now the mob spawn egg ones were a little more complicated, as you can see up here. I had to do a little bit more with them. I think this is unnecessary much. I think just added an extra one there. Yeah, this is just an extra command here because I was doing a lot of troubleshooting with this bit. Basically, instead of actually detecting for right clicks, we were detecting for the mob being summoned. So that's why when you a lot of people noticed that if you had the right answer in your hand and you hovered over the barriers, it would do the block highlight so you could tell which was the right answer. This was just so you could place it down and summon the mob. Basically, if there was an entity called Shulker, it would add the is right tag and give you a score of click 1, so it would basically say they totally clicked. It would fake a click, basically, and then it would kill the Shulker. This over here would, since removing of is right was actually handled by the secondary command block here that would say if you're not, basically, unless you're hovering over the item, remove that tag, remove the is right tag. But since that wasn't what we're doing for this, we had to manually remove the is right tag, then gave the reason, and then we also had to, well, this one just gave the mob section title, but basically we had to manually remove the is right tag from you so that if you hovered over the right answer, you wouldn't immediately win. That's the same for all of these. This just says the match 3 section. And that's basically the map. Remember, it's pretty simple to make. Probably built it in like 4 or 5 hours, so wasn't that big of a deal. I guess I should explain these commands over here as well. What do these do? What do these do? Basically, this gives you saturation as long as your tag is not is right last. I don't know why I set this up to not give you it as right last, but whatever, it works. These are the selection commands for the info here, and these are the selection commands, but the hover things for the start and info here. This is the joining. So I had a lot of trouble getting you to get the items when you joined. That's actually surprisingly difficult because it's sort of this weird thing. A decent majority of players will inherit your NBT when they join the world. So basically where you were last standing, the blocks you last had in your inventory and whatnot, they will get in their inventory. It's not always the case forever, however, so I wanted to make sure that this was true. So essentially what I did is I detected if they had no score for level. I gave them a score of 0 for level. And these are the same. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. I gave them a score of 0 for level. And I said if they have a score of 0 for level, then we'll give them the start button. We'll set their level to -1, and then we'll also give them the rules book. I didn't initially have a rules book, so that's why this is after the thing. It's fine. So basically what happens is if they don't have a level score, then it will give them 1, and then give them all the items. It's kind of weird to think about this, because if a player is new and joins, they won't just have 0 on the scoreboard, they'll not be on the scoreboard. So you can't just detect for them having no score, or having like a 0 score. you need to detect for them not even like having a score on the scoreboard. So it's a little complicated. So this was some of the, I think this was probably the hardest part here, just this little beginning bit. Yeah, I don't know, there's not much else to say about this. This is all just, armor stands with items on their head. If you didn't realize that, I don't know, I felt that was pretty obvious, but... the level score I specified, you probably noticed that there was a level score. It just allowed me to detect for the correct item is at the correct level, basically, for the hovers. That's that. Yeah, if you want me to do, like, more in-depth version of these, where I actually, like, sort of explain really what the commands did, like, really, really in-depth, I can do that. I'm starting to, lean towards doing more tutorial-oriented content on this channel, so I hope you guys enjoy that, and I'll see you in the next video.